Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Who are you today? It is Saturday evening in Europe. It is Saturday morning in Canada because I know I have a guest from Canada, so I can be courageous to say I know it's morning in Canada. And I know it's also morning hours in the US. And so wherever you will be watching, come on in and say where you are at so that we can give a shout out to you. Today is a special Saturday because I have a special queen on the show. This show is to bring you great insight, great stories, great motivations, and great empowerment because we all need one. We need each other to carry each other, to empower each other, and to motivate each other. Today, like I say, we are in Canada and we are meeting Julian. Julian is a nutritionist and mind body weight release expert. She is going to teach us and to help us, all those who have been struggling with weight loss or struggling with how you can balance your nutrition, however you want to call it. Today is the day for us to learn that. And Julian is a specialist for that because she went through that. She struggled with it and she got the right formula that she decided, this is it. I want to bring it out to our people so that they can also be empowered to know and to have this new model of care for weight. And so it's not just about diets. Everybody knows there are so many diets out there, but it's not for everybody, or sometimes it just doesn't work. But Julian is going to walk us through the best model that she walked through with, and she was able to get to take care of her weight and take care of our inner soul, because at the end of the day it is all about our minds and our body working together. So I will not take a lot of time so that she can come in and give it to us. Hello, how are you?
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for showing up. And I know it's early morning in Canada, but still you took time. And I know Saturdays are always those days where people don't really like to do a lot of things, but just coming out of your way on an early Saturday morning, I'm really so honored and we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, Julian, tell us, who are you? Where you're from? What is your journey? Speak up.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I am a nutritionist, and this year marks my 10th year anniversary in the field. Yeah. Which, my gosh, time has gone so fast. And it really has. And my, let's just say, title is a mind body weight release expert, which I believe encompasses the whole philosophy of how I practice nutrition and my mission and what I'm here to accomplish. A little bit curious thing about me, I was born and raised in Brazil, and I moved to Canada when I was 21 years old, and I've been here for almost 16 years. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Awesome. So you can call Canada as your second home, so to say, right?
Yes, and I married a Canadian husband, so Canada feels kind of like my primary home, but Brazil is where most of my family lives. So my heart is split between the two.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Don't we all have that where we are, just in different countries, from different countries? We still have that heart for that place, but still where we are at, we call it home because that's where we are doing our things. So thank you so much. Like I said, I'm so honored that you came in. And I know this topic is going to be a hot one because we have, everybody has got an issue with their health or with, weight. There is a weight that always needs to be getting rid of, and we all struggle with that. So talk to us through about your journey and how did you come to, becoming a nutritionist, thinking about, mind, body, weight, release, and, talk to us.
Yes, absolutely. So, my discovering of nutrition is very much that meant to be type of story. I started my academical journey back home in Brazil, and I was in my second year of veterinarian medicine, and I was my heart is set on being a vet. I adore animals, and that was going to be it was my passion from like being a young child. And then my parents immigrated to Canada in my second year of university. And my very first class that I had in Canada at the University of Guelph was a fundamentals of nutrition. And I fell in love with it in a way that I have never felt about any discipline before. And that was it. And then I switched literally everything. I finished my bachelor's in the more general sciences, took every nutrition course available, and then and then I did a master's in nutrition following that. And that really just, the rest is history. And that's what I've done since 2004. That's the primary discipline I've studied, from people, holistic, very much the high scientific academics, animals, and like comparative nutrition. And I looked at it from all different angles. And yeah, wake up every day excited about it.
Oh, wow. So tell us, what is it that fascinates you so much about nutrition, at large? Because like you said, you've studied all angles of nutrition. What is it that fascinated you to really want to say, okay, this is it. This is really what I want to do. And I am, starting to be becoming an entrepreneur to just coach people or to help people who are, struggling with health issues or nutritional things. What is it that really, triggered that?
I'd say there's two reasons. The first one, it's more, I'd say, an internal reason. I'm fascinated by the human body and how things work. And I found in nutrition, which is essentially biochemistry on an applied form, to be sort of like a way to understand it. Like a mechanic understands a car. For me, nutrition is a way to understand the body, right? And I just have such a gratitude and appreciation for the physical human body, the magnitude of it, that it was kind of that language. But also because I discovered from my own health struggles that nutrition is a wonderful preventive tool. Is one of many, but it's a preventive tool that can really help people correct problems, but also really go back to root cause and act there. And I feel that empowers people when you know what's happening and how to course correct and use food for healing and all those beautiful things. So I think that's really why I'm passionate about it.
Okay. Interesting. And I just love what you said, using food for healing. When you say using food for healing, what does that really mean? Because, sometimes, and I can say that because I think I had the issue, and sometimes I still have it. For some reason, it's something that, when I feel stressed, I just go to food, and I feel so like it's my calming moment. But sometimes we don't really understand how is it a healing, for you as a nutritionist, and what is it, how can you help somebody who says, okay, but you say it's a healing, but at the same time, every time when I grab onto it, it just makes me gain weight. What is it that we are doing wrong? Are we looking at it in a different perspective, or are we just not respecting it in that aspect of nutrition and not something just as a treatment or something?
So I would say there's a couple of angles that I like to kind of go about this question, because I spent 7 years of my 10 years in this field in the corporate side of nutrition on product development and food production. And from that 7 years, I really saw how food is processed, a lot of the food additives and marketing claims and writing labels, all that behind the scenes of how food is processed. And one of the things that I grown to learn is that the more processed the food product is, the more it tricks our taste buds. So we want more and more of that. It triggers the brain, so we crave it. It makes it swallow it faster. So it kind of starts to detach us from a lot of our own self-governing mechanisms of hunger control or cravings, right? That is the abundance of foods out there, a lot of the processed food world. When you go towards real food and just using beautiful colors, so essentially if you're eating real foods, all the colors of the rainbow, you're getting a variety of nutrients, you're getting a variety of natural enzymes and fiber and all sorts of things. You start really tap into that vital force that food is supposed to be, rather than that more life depleted, force of the processed food world. And
Mm,
use food for healing in the sense of helping people transition away from a lot of those processed products into more, let's just say, home cooked, very simple food, but beautiful food. And in the
mm,
process, really tap into that this or rediscovery of gratitude for food. And I think for me, growing up in Brazil, seeing so much, poverty, and such a huge percentage of the country does not have food security, I
mm,
I was able from a young child forward to appreciate food and be grateful for it. Whereas a lot of
mm.
time, when there's too much of it, sometimes, right? A lot of it and then processed, it's almost that excess that kind of leads people to look at food as an enemy rather than,
Mm.
the real food that you grow in your
Yes.
garden, or, and the
Mm,
abundant gratitude of it. So I think
mm.
a little shift in how we perceive it, but also what we call food, potentially. Yeah.
That is, and it's good that you say what we really call food potentially. So, in your own words, what would you call food? Because for me, probably it's because I'm not from the direction of nutrition. And for me, food is anything that I put on the table that that it's edible, and it either gives me strength or it suits me. What would you say to you food is?
I would say, like, the definition of food, very much like you said, is anything that's edible, I guess. But there's so many food additives and things added to our foods that aren't even necessarily health promoting, right? So if you're looking at food from a health promoting standpoint, I would
Mhm,
say minimally processed, as close to its
mhm,
natural form as possible. That is, in
mm,
my definition, the best food. So, for example, coconut oil, right, which is a really health perceived food, which could be
mm,
very much a processed food if you think of how the actual coconut that I grew up drinking looks like, because you open it and you eat it and it's
yeah,
not oils going everywhere. So even in the health food market, there's still quite a level of processing that goes into our
mhm,
foods, right? And there's a lot of those labels of healthy, unhealthy, and so on. So I usually like to say go as close to nature as possible. Process If the processing happens in your kitchen rather than before it gets to your home, it's usually best,
mhm,
right? And then if
mhm,
you get it even fancier, even if you're cooking it, use gentler techniques, like, just like, I don't know, like you steam, or lightly boil, or things like that, so you're retaining as much of the nutrients as possible. And that
mm,
likely will give you, because always eating raw may not be suitable for some people with
yeah,
digestive concerns.
yeah,
But as long as you're very intentional, very careful how you process that food, you're going to get to the highest spectrum of
mhm,
quality in terms of
mm, mm.
gaming. Yeah.
Wow, awesome, awesome. We're going to make a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about nutrition. We're going to talk more about what is the relationship between food and losing weight or healthy eating, and how can somebody, see themselves eating healthy, because there's so many things out there where people say eating healthy, but people don't understand what exactly is eating healthy, because either they become vegan or vegetarian, or some people, for them, proteins like animal protein is not so something that they call healthy. They call only the veggie fruits and vegetables. Some people, everything is healthy. So we're going to learn more from Julian, how to eat healthy, and how she came about formulating the formula that she has, the Joyous formula, and what are the skills or the techniques that we can begin to implement in our lives, in our kitchens, with what we already have, and process the food properly, and looking at the food in the right manner, not just grabbing onto it, but living and experiencing that food for our body. So do not go away. We are coming back in a second. Hello, hello. Welcome back. This is the show, Who Are You? I am your host, Dr. Leah. And today we are with Julian as our guest. Julian is from Canada. She is a nutritionist and she is also a mind body weight release specialist. She has talked to us a little bit more about how she came to become a nutritionist, and she's been talking to us a little bit on how we can look at food and how we can begin to, process what is a healthy food and what she defines food, because many a times we all define foods as something edible. Some, for me, it is anything I put on the table that goes through the mouth. So now we are learning to understand what is a healthy food, how we can make healthy foods from our home with what we already have, and not always grabbing onto processed food, because at the end of the day, it's about our bodies, it's about our health, it's all in our mind and how we look at things and how we perceive them. So, Julian, talk to us a little bit about your formula, Joyous.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the last 10 years, I've been working on a process that I call the She system as part of my Naturally Joyous company. And the She system, the She stands for shifting your mindset, helping balance hormones, and the E is for eating real foods. And the formula, from what I've learned at the beginning of my journey, I put a lot of emphasis specifically on the physiology and the cooking techniques and all of that, which is the H and the E. um, not as much on the mindset component of appetite control, of how our perceptions impact our physiology. And that was sort of the third piece that over the last few years have come into play, and the formula really took shape. And I started to really make like significant shifts, not just in my life. I have a laundry list of health issues that I've had from a very young age that I've been overcoming year after year. But it's really that combination that once we have a balanced perspective and live in a place of true, pure gratitude, as well as understand what's happening with our hormones, especially if you're female. You're very different, hormonally speaking, women in your 30s than you are in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. And how to use food for those different stages in life, because things are going to shift, your hormones are going to change, how to compensate for those changes and maximize your performance. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I love what you just said, having a balanced perspective and being in that true place of gratitude. It's so many places, so many people talk about, having that balanced a perspective, being in a place of gratitude. And so many times we just think it is for everything, but we don't think of it into the perspective of nutrition and health. Tell us, how can we have that perspective or be in that place of gratitude within our health and nutrition? Because like I say, so many times we understand it only perspective on, wealth creation, gratitude on where you are. But now you spoke about it in the area of health and nutrition.
Absolutely. And I would say the most transformational concept that I came to understand that has really shifted how I even look at my practice and my clients and the journey is the fact that regardless of whatever disease processes or imbalances that we present today, we are whole and perfect as is today, because our symptoms are putting us on the right path to that which we have to achieve. Like your symptoms are just feedback mechanisms so that to keep you authentic, to keep you on your path so you can keep on your journey, on your mission, fulfilling that. And I used to think I had to fix my body in order to do my job, let's just say my work, where because of my health struggles, that it put me on the exact path that I am today so I can do the exact work I'm designed to do. And when I was able to really see, okay, I'm only seeing half of the story, when I was feeling sorry for myself for all my, surgeries and all the things I went through. And by the time I was able to see both sides and neutralize that, I was able to tap into gratitude, and my health improved significantly. through shifting that perspective and seeing both sides. And I think a
mm,
lot of people, should it be, say, food addictions or using food, like the perceived, oh, you have a relationship problem, you go eat a pint of ice cream. Like, food is used as, as a treat, as a way to compensate for unbalanced emotions, right? So I work
mm,
with people on balancing the emotions regardless of the food, as well as understanding, what do you want out of your weight loss journey? How do you perceive what you have as excess weight, as negative? We start balancing those perspectives, and then food is no longer the tool needed for that balancing act. The conscious
mm.
act, of shifting the mindset is, then you have the freedom to eat the foods for health rather than eating the foods as a tool to neutralize those imbalanced perspectives. So that's
Uh-huh.
I look at it. If
Uh-huh. Okay. Oh wow. Oh wow. And that's why you came about with the saying real food is never the issue. You just need better food friends.
Yes.
I was looking at it, I was like, better food friends. And I was thinking, who are these better food friends for me? Elaborate for us, who are the better food friends?
Absolutely. So I believe that in the food, especially in the holistic nutrition field, and this is North America, but I'm implying that's also happening worldwide. A lot of good foods are put on the no list, right? Like things like, for some people, dairy and the glutens and all of those things that,
Mm,
yes, like for some people, they can be very problematic, but not for everyone. And I
mm,
think a lot of whole foods that get mislabeled, um,
mm,
like a big picture, concept. I guess they're not good for you. Whereas I believe that once we work on our perceptions, when we work on our gut and we balance our bodies, we start to be able to become friends with food again, right? So I usually don't love the perspective of good and bad. I think a lot of those dual perspectives usually leads to a little bit of exclusion of good foods from our diet. I rather believe that if it's real, if it's whole and it's real food, it's usually
mm,
not bad, but it's a relationship between in the food, or temporarily picking other foods that are, more suitable for your body as we work on the gut and digestion and so on, so that we start breaking that perspective that real food is bad for you. Because I hear a
mm,
lot of women say, I'm eating real foods and I'm not getting results, right? So they're starting to
mm.
sort of label that, okay, this is real, this is not working for me. Whereas in
That,
fact, it's gut, it's hormones, it's not the food itself. So I like to make friends with food, start breaking some of those big labels, and then really understanding what is happening to your physiology and your emotions. Let's balance those, and then you can be more free with your food choices.
wow, wow, that is so awesome because I was just about to ask. So tell us how you work with a client. Let's say I am somebody who comes to you and say, Julian, I've had all these 1001 diets I've been using, I've been trying, I've followed them through like step by step each day, portion by portion and everything. But still, I'm not achieving that goal that I've been waiting to achieve. And it's not like I've been doing it for 3 months or 6 months, I've done it for a whole year. How would you work with somebody like that?
Absolutely. It's a wonderful question. And I would say that, so there's two important pieces here. The first piece is that something that may have worked for you in the past may
Mhm,
eventually no longer work. And like I
mhm,
said, as we age as women, our hormones, especially as we go into perimenopause towards menopause,
mm,
so many things happen. Our ovaries are, getting retired, and
mm,
become a lot more, insulin resistant. And there's all these changes. So if you're eating, say, a vegan vegetarian diet that's really high in carbohydrates, that may actually
mm,
become more problematic later on as you age, because of our inability to tolerate, high carb levels and whatnot as we age.
mm,
Right? That's the one
mm,
piece. And sometimes I know, for more compassionate reasons, sometimes we are attached to food labels, right? Of vegetarianism, veganism, paleo, keto, all those things. And that limits us a little bit, but that's fine. If that's what it is, we work with it. What I do is that I have developed what I call the weight to release shift, which is a process. It's like the preliminary program that I put together to work with me, that I take us from the mindset of the external weight loss, focus on the scale, towards the release, which basically puts the losing the weight as a secondary consequence. And we
Mm-hmm.
focus on our emotions and perceptions. We focus on our hormones and learning to really use real food for the different stages of womanhood. And
Mm-hmm.
that initial process, a lot of times, is enough to give women an understanding what's happening to your thyroid, to your insulin, to your adrenals. Like, I teach women what is happening in the body and how to course correct it. And they're able
Mm-hmm.
to break through those plateaus that could be a variety of things. So I give a lot of that sort of information, and then we do the transformation together as a group. So that's usually how I approach them.
Wow, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And that brings us to the next question that would really interest me. For somebody who is a beginner or somebody who has struggled for a while, what would be your first five techniques or the five best advice you'd give them to say, okay, you can start looking at it like this, or you can start here and see what is working for you in the next probably 3 months or 6 months. And if not, then you can reassess the whole thing.
Absolutely. So on a food side of things, one of the most important, I would say, sort of recommendations that I give everybody is increasing the alkalinity of your diet. And the
Mhm,
easiest way to do that is to increase the amount of real vegetables that you're consuming on a daily basis. So if
mhm,
somebody like try many things and they're not getting, and it could be low carb veggies. It doesn't have to be, the sweet potatoes and yams. Like, it could be low carb. But I just say, if you can add 2 to 4 cups of vegetables to your main meals, like your lunch and your supper, on a daily basis, you're increasing your fiber content significantly. You're bringing tons and tons of nutrients in there. And that alkalinity really helps balance a lot of the other things kind of going on. So that'll be the first thing.
mhm,
The second thing, if we have a lot of toxins in our bodies, they have to go somewhere, and they go into our fat cells, and it's
mhm,
almost like a protection mechanism, right? So I say the second thing I tell women is, let's stop toxifying ourselves so that we don't have to keep the fat tissue to store all this excess toxin. And then the best
mhm,
way to do that is to be very clear, not clear, but very clean with your cleaning products, with your beauty products. If you can afford a few organic foods for the ones that are most toxin containing, and
mhm,
really gotta read labels and avoid a lot of the things you can't pronounce, because if your body can't understand, it goes stored in the fat tissue as a toxin. There's a term
mhm,
called obesogens, which are how a lot of those toxins are promoting obesity in humans. So I'd say that'll be the second thing, like, minimize how many toxins you allow in your body as much as possible, while really increasing that alkalinity. I think those are two very, very crucial ones that I
mhm,
tell people to get started right away. The third thing that I like to, encourage people to learn truly is to learn how to read labels. And I have like some free videos and things that I made on that. But the more you learn to read a food label, understand what you're putting into your body, you're able to really minimize a lot of those things that are not promoting of health. Either
mhm,
anything that's added sugars, or a lot of times even things like vegetable oils that can be quite inflammatory. Because the moment that you have acidity in the body, toxins in the body, and inflammation in the body, it will be almost nearly impossible to get the weight to move. And if sometimes people plateau, I say, okay, now it's time to look at those 3 areas. And by reading, educating yourself on a food label, you're able to, at least on a food standpoint, take some of that inflammation down by removing a lot of those sort of, let's just call it, words that you can't pronounce, that are likely going to be irritating of the gut and just like
mhm,
a lot of issues that way. So that would be more on the food, the physical side. Now,
mhm,
on the emotional side, which I think is really important, that is really sort of the whole mindset side of things that I talk about.
mhm,
And two main areas, to give you the five, the two main areas that I tell people to start contemplating. The first one is getting crystal clear of what is the thing that you really want out of your life, right? And I think a lot of the work you do help people in that way too, of getting clear, what is your mission? What are the values you stand for? What are the things that just, fill you with so much joy that you wake up and you're just ready to rock and roll? And
Mm,
the more you live authentic to that, which is your purpose, the
mm,
easier it becomes to not have to rely on food and alcohol and those things to kind of get back to balance, right? So getting clear
mm,
on and living as close to that purpose as possible is fulfilling and just brings joy and neutrality to the body. But also, and I recommend this at the end of the day, it's kind of like the counter to that is that gratitude piece, right? That we, no
mm,
matter what happens to us, we always have something to be grateful for. So I tell people at the end of the day, as you're closing the day, even if you're just like writing down one thing, point form, doesn't have to be a novel, but document, start getting like, and I like to write in paper and pen, old school, but you can type,
mm,
that's better, and really tap into those gratitudes, those beautiful things that happened to you that day. Because
mm,
the more we're grateful, the more we have things to be grateful for. And I think
mm,
that beautiful energy just really helps us tap into that lighter version of us that, again, we're able to start releasing slowly but surely a lot of the baggage that we carry that's weighing us down, that a lot of times reflect as excess body weight. So
mm. Awesome.
that's a snapshot.
Awesome, awesome, and I love the last point where you've talked about being gratitude and getting rid of things that really drag us, because you find many a times, and that is why we look at food with different perspective, because like I say, my experience, when I'm so stressed is when I really grab onto food and I eat. I don't even realize if I've really eaten so much more than what I'm supposed, and I don't even look at what I'm eating, because as long as my mouth is just grinding and grinding, and my mind is just seeing I'm grinding food, then it's just something that I don't really respect it, because I am using it to in a wrong motive, instead of being grateful, and regardless of the circumstances, and just appreciating the food and looking at it in a different perspective. And that is why I really like what the points you've really given us are very helpful, because people run to a lot of diets, but we don't really understand that the diets are good, but at the end of the day, where are you at yourself? Physically, mentally, emotionally, where are you at? Because as you are not balanced in that state, even when you take 1,001 diets, it won't work, because they're not aligning together, and it's not aligning to what is it that you want to achieve out of it.
Exactly. A lot
Yeah.
of times the diet we think is the goal, but the goal is something totally else that is not
Mm,
defined. So you can't, it's very much like if you're taking a map to drive over here, but you're coming here, you're not gonna get to the destination. Doesn't matter how fancy the car is, right?
yeah.
It's really resetting what the priorities are, what are the goals. And I recently done a free master class on the topic of motivation as it
Mm,
pertains to diet and weight loss and all those things. Share
mm,
to women what are the reasons why so many people struggle with it, right? And one
mm,
of the reasons is very much what you just said. It's the goal is not aligned. I call it
mm.
goal conflict. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It is goal conflict, because your mind is thinking differently, your body is somewhere else, your emotions are somewhere. So you are in a conflict. You are in a war zone, and you don't even understand who is your enemy at that particular moment. And so you're fighting everything, and you're fighting nothing, but you just going in a circle. And that's so great how you've put all that together. Maybe if I may just ask, what is your take on the diets that are out in the market right now?
Yeah, I would say I don't perceive them as either good or bad, right? I think having them, let's just say the keto diet, I'll say that because it's such a popular one.
Yes.
I think it serves the purpose that it gives it, like a lot of people understand what it is now because it get popularity and all those things. And there are ways. So a lot of the research on the keto is actually done for men. So men do technically really well on it. But for women, because of our hormonal shifts, there are ways to do a very low carbohydrate diet properly, right? And it's one of the things I teach in my work is how to make it work for you if you're premenopause, postmenopausal, and so on. Otherwise, it can actually cause some hormonal disruption in there as well. So I'll tell you that the good side of a diet is that it becomes more understandable for a greater number of people to understand. And the downside of a diet is that sometimes it gives the wrong or misleads people into thinking it's that simple, right? You just really just add that and this is it. I really believe that it's a lot more complex than that. And a lot of times what we practitioners do is that we help customize for you because of all your underlying current issues, or for some people, even actual, disease processes that are in place that this may be recommended. For example, somebody with type 1 diabetes should never do the ketogenic diet, right? At least not without their doctor's full supervision. So somebody just searching the internet that have that disease may not know that. So that is the only downside I see with diet sometimes. And we also see people getting really attached to the label. And then even if the diet no longer serves them and the symptoms are showing, but there's that emotional attachment to stick to the diet that can actually prevent them from keep improving their health, right? So it could be tricky in those circumstances. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And I just love, how you've been neutral, but still you've given very good insight about the diets and, understanding yourself, understanding where you are at. And I'm so glad because in this month I will be having somebody on the show who is a keto nutritionist or keto coach person, and it will be very intriguing, and it will be a learning moment because for me, I've seen a lot. Everybody is keto. Before it was Weight Watchers, and then Weight Watchers was very big, and then now keto is very big. So it's kind of have this effect. It's for me more like people are getting into the yo-yo effect, the wow, and then they lose it instead of understanding. So why am I getting into it? What am I looking at? What are my goals? What are my ambitions? Why am I doing it for now? And have I looked at every aspect of my life that this is the right thing, or did I get a little bit of direction? And so I'm so glad that I'm having guests who will be talking to us about all these diets and how to look at things. And I'm so happy that you came and you've really given us some very good tips and some very good insight of how to look at nutrition, how to take care of ourselves. So thank you so much for showing up. Tell us how people can get to talk to you if they want assistance or if they want to work with you. How can they contact you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the best way to find me that I'm most active is on my Instagram, and my handle is naturally.joyous. And in my Instagram and link in bio, you can see majority of everything that's always happening, what's new, and it's available. And in terms of working with me, the best way to read a little bit more about it is on naturallyjoyous.ca/release. And in there, that's really where I explain a little bit about the weight release philosophy. And there is a link at the bottom of that page for a free chat with me if you're interested or curious. And then I can explain, because the philosophy that I have, I provide a hormonal balancing approach. But if somebody is keto or vegan, like we can adjust to all of the different diets out there. But I think a little bit more macro than the specific diets. So if somebody's curious, that's probably the best place to find me.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you so much for coming up. Thank you so much for taking your Saturday morning to just talk to us and showing up in this show, Who Are You? So thank you very much for those who have been watching with us, those who will be watching a replay. I hope for many who are struggling with health, with body issues, and you're struggling with weight issues, you will be able to get some insight out of this discussion today, and you can take a point. For me, I have taken one point, and it's the perspective and the mindset of how I approach food, because at the end of the day, it's something that is good, it's beautiful, and how we look at it, how we approach it is what makes a difference in our lives. Being also with a purpose and not losing what is the goal for me. And so thank you so much. Hopefully that we will see you again on our show in before the end of the year or beginning of the new year, who knows. And so thank you so much. So we will be on next week. We have a great lineup. We will be on next week for 3 days as well. We will have different guests. So I hope that you will all be joining in and you will be coming and listening. We've got great insight, great guests who will be talking to us on what they do, how they do it. We have men who will be talking about men issues and how to be a man physically, mentally, emotionally. So we have great things that are coming up, and I'm looking forward to meeting you, to seeing you, to discuss with you. Tell us where you were watching from. Tell us what really stood up for you on this show, and how you think about nutrition, how you think about diets, and how you think about losing weight. So thank you so much. And until next week, Thursday, to me, Dr. Leah, your host, and our guest, Julian from Canada today, we say thank you and stay blessed.
Thank you.
Your heart is tarnished black and blue. Betrayal is a feeling, not a word anymore. And you won't fall in love again. You've opened up too many times to be let down once more. And you said, I'll build a wall around myself.